All right. Hi, beautiful people. How you doing out there? I do want to apologize for the last minuteness. I really was going to try to do these on Fridays, but due to what's going on here in America and me trying to dissociate, I actually end up missing out on. I end up missing out on when I end up missing out on when I was uploading and doing all of that good stuff. So I apologize. I apologize. I was so focused on like trying to get away from the presidential debate and all of that good stuff. And it kind of got me off focus. It got me off my track. And then, of course, the new season dropped, and I was like, "Oh shit! Like, I got to get my shit together." And so I'm back. I actually was able to knock season 2 out in a couple of days. It was another super straightforward season, so I'm not going to waste any time. We're just going to go ahead and get right on into it. Let me share my screen. Okay, I'm gonna try to do my entire screen to see if that works. Alrighty, you guys let me know when you are ready. And we're gonna go ahead and get right into Amazon Prime Harlem Season 2. Alrighty, so let's get ready to just do it. So, Amazon Prime Season 2. If this is your first time finding me, hi, I'm Am. A little bit about our agenda. First, I'm going to introduce you to myself. I'm going to introduce you to the intention for this series, why I'm doing it. I'm also going to tell you a little bit about Tracy Oliver, who is the creator of this beautiful series. And then we'll go ahead and get into Season 2 breakdown and then finish this up with some final takeaways. So who am I? I'm Honest Am. I am the creator. I used to have a podcast called Dear Showrunners where we watch, praise, and critique all of our favorite shows. Me doing this series is me just getting back to my Dear Showrunner roots. I also have a podcast. I also have a newsletter called Honestly Sis, where we like to inspire, uplift, and activate. Honestly Sis is a newsletter that I just recently turned into a podcast. And there in the podcast, I have one week where we just recap letters, and then I do a deep dive. And then another week, I do activations, aka my channeling, to teach you, to give you the tools to become the alchemist of your life. And the purpose of me doing this series is because I am a writer, and I truly believe that that television is the best way to see how to write, because it's all about show and do not tell. And so, in the first season, we really got to know. We got to see. I think Ty was a very good example of the show don't tell storyline. Now, basically, we learned that she was an avoidant type of personality, but instead of just saying that, we had her friends saying, "Oh, Ty, you only deal with easy girls." Then we got to see her, deal with those easy girls. We got to see how she handles relationships. She challenged herself to come outside of her comfort zone, only to realize that the reason why she was hesitant to start these relationships is because she had a past relationship that she has not properly ended. And so I just love watching television shows, breaking down television shows, because they really, really let you see how to show a character journey versus telling that character journey. The creator. So the creator of this wonderful series, Harlem, is Tracy Oliver. Tracy Oliver created the First Wives Club. You may be familiar with that. That is on BET Plus. It's also currently, I don't know if it's currently on on Netflix, but you can find it on Netflix. I want to say this series also went 3 seasons, so maybe Tracy just like doing things in three. If I ever had the opportunity to interview Tracy or to ask her about this series, one of the number one things I would ask her is, Did she plan on ending these series within within 3 seasons, or did she wish that it would go longer? Another thing that we know Tracy for is Girls Trip. I don't know if you've been hearing about it, but it's definitely been rumored that Girls Trip 2 is coming out. And so we know that Tracy loves to deal with friend groups, loves to explore community and the purpose of sisterhood. Lastly, Tracy also did a movie called The Blackening. As you know, she's always in her comedy bag, but The Blackening is also another a really good movie that you could just watch. It's all about a group of friends going up to a cabin and they start playing the board games and shit commence. If you, where can you watch that? I don't know. I actually bought this one, so I can see it on Amazon Prime whenever I want to. All right, let's go ahead and get into the themes of season two. I didn't get to change that. Matter of fact, let's just change that really quickly so that we have no confusion. Bam. See? That easy. All right, going back to where we were. Themes of season two. So, what it means to be a dog. I really believe that this theme was explored heavily with Camille as well as with Ethan. We meet Ethan at the beginning of season one. Him and Camille has broken up, and basically the whole of season one is a will they, won't they, and then they end up getting together. But when they get together, there are some huge consequences, and so I think a big theme of this series and as well as life is like when you become an adult, you have to kind of take away those childish things and you have to take accountability for your actions. This season talked all about having tough conversations, being accountable, knowing that there's no such thing as takes backseas. And what does it mean by taking accountability, owning your choices, and of course, what does it mean to be an adult? I kind of lost my train of thought. So I was saying that this whole season really explored what does it mean to be an adult, and I believe what it means to be an adult is to take ownership of your choices, to be accountable for your choices, and to say what you want and stand by that. Last night it was about legacy. We opened up this season. Well, actually, it was like season episode two, is where we realized that Ty is still having issues from her previous. What was it like when she was passing out? She had like a holy trinity of fibroids and all of these different things, and the doctors were suggesting that she get a hysterectomy. But if she get a hysterectomy, then that means she won't be able to have children. And so Camille told her to come to the doctor because Camille and Ethan has been having sex and they had a little bit of rough sex and her birth control came out. And so they went to the doctor to talk all about taking this test. I forgot the name of the test. Ooh, did I write down the name of this test? Mm, mm. Okay, I can't find a name. I can't find the name of the test, but basically, the doctor suggests that both Camille and Ty takes the test to see how many eggs that they have, so that they can make a realistic uh, realistic choice and a realistic choice about how they want to have kids or what they want to do with their life. And thinking about kids made every all of these different characters think about legacy and what legacy means to them. Next is community. I believe that this is a very big theme of this season because whether it is in career or whether you're having depression, whether you're trying to decide on whether you want to be with a person or not, a lot of these characters were only able to make choices or to see that they were doing wrong because they were in community. And I really feel like this season highlighted the importance of having community not only in your career but also in your life as well. Lastly, vulnerability. I believe that Tracy started to explore this theme back in the Strong Black Woman episode in season one, but this really, really kind of highlights and kind of get amplified all throughout the season because we learn that, our vulnerability is not for ourselves. Our vulnerability is really for others. I mean, well, it is for ourselves, but it helps us be able to connect to others, and it helps us be able to ask for help. And if you're not able to, be vulnerable and ask for help, then you may not get the help that you necessarily deserve. There was actually a really good line that I wrote down. Oh, here it is. Vulnerability. Let's see. Oh, I love it. Vulnerability is something that is a big thing within our community. We can get so used to masking our pain from the outside world that we sometimes mask it from ourselves. I thought that that was such a very good explanation that was explored in episode 6, Out of a Deadpan. And it just talks about if we are not honest with ourselves, then how can we be honest with others? We don't know when we are fully. Yeah. I hate that my handwriting, look at this. I hate that my handwriting is so bad that sometimes I cannot even read it. Like, I got to do better. But that was also a theme. And then the last big thing was depression and joy, going back to that vulnerability, going back to community. We had Quinn really deal with depression this season, and we learned that through vulnerability, admitting that she needed help, admitting that she needed her girls, reaching out to her girls is what ultimately led her back to her black joy. And black joy is how we ended the season. Favorite episode. So my favorite episodes of the season was Take Back Seas, which was actually one of the first episodes of the season. I just love how it really explored that theme of like you can't the reason why I love this episode so much is because it explored why you cannot just do something and think you're going to get away with it. It really goes back to that theme of what it means to be an adult, where you have to be accountable for your choices. You can't do something and then just all of a sudden act like it didn't happen. So the reason why this came up is because Camille, once she really, she kissed Ethan in front of Myra, and at first Myra was going to act like she didn't see it. Then she came back and was honest and like, this is actually the second time that she saw them kiss. And at first, Camille was going to try to act like, that was a mistake. I shouldn't have done it. And Myra was just like, you need to be an adult and own up to your choices, and realize that you have to be accountable for your actions and what you do in the world. And I just feel like that's just something that us as human beings, we have to realize that, especially us new, new age adults, that are getting into this, who are starting to get used to this concept of being an adult. We have to realize that there is no such thing as take back season life. We have to be accountable for our choices and our experiences. Last thing is the pride. Not last thing. Next is the pride episode. I love this episode because not only did Quinn has the best outfit and her hair, like, oh my god, can I please try to figure out how to do my hair like that? But in the pride episode, we also have that scene where Angie is like running, trying to make sure that her phone doesn't die, and then all of these people just start running behind her. It's just like it shows you like how black people, we don't ask any questions. Like, we just know that if somebody is running, that means that everything is, especially if a black person is running, that means that something is wrong and we need to get out the way. But that scene, that episode has one of my favorite scenes. Also, the take backseat is when Angie also meets her. Is also when Angie meet her street prophet, and she tried to act like she was a twin to fuck his roommate. I just thought that was hilarious. Next, fall forward to rump skin forward. I believe I'm saying that right. This is a Puerto Rico episode. I loved it because we got to get like a little bit of girls trip in there, and we had like all the different personalities. That friend that is technically still at work, that friend that's trying to relive the old days, the friend that is going to be a hoe. That's going to be a that's going to I was going to say be a hoe, but Angie didn't even successfully do that. But that friend that is going to get booed up and become a couple for the rest of the trip, and then a friend that just cannot stay away from her man. Like, I feel like they did a really good job of showing all of those different elements while still giving us some really good character development to move the series forward. And then, of course, I love the very last episode. It was a 40-minute episode, Black Joy. We got to see what joy means to each of our characters, as well as seeing Camille's final presentation, and seeing like where our characters are going to end from here. All right, let's go ahead and get into this story break. I think we're making some really good timing. All right. Story break. So first up is Camille's story. We're going to talk about Camille's career path. Remember, I always say Camille's story because she is our main protagonist. Her storyline is typically broke up in two pairs. And so the first half of Camille's storyline, we're talking all about her job. So when we first opened up this season, we're dealing with Camille and Quinn drunken night, where Camille basically quits her job. And then she comes to her senses when she is sober and realizes that she cannot quit her job. And so she goes back to Dr. Pruitt's house and basically begs for her job back. And then in the end, she goes back to Dr. Pruitt and realizes, okay, I actually do not want this job back. I'm going to go ahead and, finish out my contract. But I know that I want a tenure position. And if this job is not going to give that to me, then I need to move on. And Dr. Pruitt respects her for it. Next, we have Jameson and the Grant. We when we start this season, of course, at first Ethan and Camille is doing a whole will they, won't they? They're reliving issues from the past. Um, they're reliving issues from the past, and eventually they do get together. But because they are getting together, and Camille feels so guilty about it, she starts to block Jameson, and she blocks Jameson. And clearly, he's been trying to get in touch with her because she runs into him at school, and he informs her that he put her name on this grant when they were in a relationship together. Because remember, in season one, Camille was really stressing out about Dr. Pruitt not taking her seriously, and Jameson, being the good, thoughtful boyfriend that he is, he decided to put her name on it. And it was it's a high. It was, what did he say? It's a very competitive grant. But he did this, and now Camille has to decide if she wants to take this grant or not. And initially, she tells him no. Next up, we have Dr. Pruitt research. So Dr. Pruitt ends up sending, after her and Camille have this whole beg, quit, don't quit, do not show up at my house thing. Dr. Pruitt ends up calling Camille on a Sunday, saying that please come over here. I need you right away. And the reason why she needs her is because of her research assistant not only stole her identity, but she also ended up plagiarizing a big part of the research. So Dr. Pruitt asked Camille to come over with all of her, all of this stuff so that they can fact check and work through the presentation. Camille does all of that. And then Dr. Pruitt ends up getting a call from the board of directors or whoever, basically saying, what type of situation she's in. She has to confess that this person not only stole her identity, but they also, fucked up her basically messed up her research project. And Camille says that she would take one for the team since she's leaving anyway. Next up, Jameson, and I guess I will talk more about this when we get into her actual love life. Can you guys hear me? Can you 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 hear me? Okay. All right, but I would actually get into this a little bit more about the motherhood project. But basically, she tells Jameson that she is going to do this grant with him. And the whole purpose of this research is they're going to do the role of Black mothers in society. Camille will do her part on doing the anthropology, which I believe is like the study of people or study of neighborhoods. I don't know. I will look that up. But basically, Camille will do this motherhood project. And now that Camille, I guess we'll get more into her personal life when we get in here. But basically, this is where Camille's personal life and her career life is starting to reach ahead. She has to go back to her mom house. We finally get back to her mom. She has to go to her mom house in order to do her birth certificate so that she can apply for this grant or, whatever she needs to do. And there we get to meet her mom and we get to see that her mom, was in a completely Christmas themed house in the middle of the summer, and we see that her mom just does not like having tough conversations. She would go to great lengths to not have tough conversations, would make Camille realize that she's a lot like her mom in some ways, and it forces her to have some of these tough conversations with Ethan. In the end, she realizes after her trip to Puerto Rico, she realizes that motherhood is not her story to tell, and instead she wants to focus on Black joy. And so that's how we end up ending the career path. But something of note, when they were in Puerto Rico, she met at like kind of a stand. She met this lady who kind of has a compound of mothers, or if there's a compound of mothers where they all come together and they watch their kids, they take turns, and I just thought that was pretty cool. But overall, in Camille's career journey, we leave with her getting several offers from high-paying jobs, of high-paying positions. Clark Spellman, all of those good things, want to give her a job, but in the end, Dr. Pruitt says that she doesn't know if she wants to part with Camille, and Jameson feels the same way, which brings us to Camille's love life. So the Camille's love life, as I mentioned, she did get back with Ethan after some, push and pull. They end up, for a while, their big thing is trying to deal with the current, with the reality of their relationship now and not how it used to be in the past. And so before, at first, they're like trying to outshow each other, show all their new moves, and then in the end they finally find their groove. And because they end up finding their groove, they end up having like some really good sex that ends up dislodging Camille's birth control. And so because her birth control is dislodged, it causes her to go to the doctor, and the doctor asks her, she thinks about going to the shot, and the doctor asks her, okay, so does this mean you don't plan on having kids in the next 3 to 7 years? And it really forces Camille to have these tough conversations on whether or not she wants to have kids or not. And if I could, at the end, I would tell you guys that I really believe this whole series, this whole season 2, was basically a case study of the ex and why you should not spin the block. But it basically it shows, and what I love so much about this season from Tracy is that it shows that when you are an adult, being in relationships is so much more than just, is this person fine? Do they make me feel good? Can they fuck me? Like, it's so much more than that. You have to ask yourself, does this person career path align with mine? Does this person idea of and family and legacy align with mine? And we realize in the end that Camille and Ethan's story does not align. But through the fertility test, she goes to check and see how many eggs that she have, and what she finds is that she does not have many eggs, and there's a potential that she will not be able to get pregnant. So while all of this is going on, going back to Dr. Pruitt in her research, Camille forgets her phone at home. And because she forgets her phone at home, it is just literally just sitting there. And Ethan was able to see that Jameson was texting her. And instead of going to Camille, Ethan ends up going to meet up with Jameson, and the two of them have a real heart to heart, and basically comes to this conclusion that Ethan Ethan is her lover and Jameson is her career path, and that is okay that she do this project, and Ethan doesn't want her to turn anything down. And Camille answers that by saying, why do these men think that they can make decisions for me? Which is same girl. Like, who do they think they are? But I did love this conversation because it just talked about, like, how both of them think that they're on this happily ever after, but it highlight how they still don't trust each other. Ethan is going through her phone. Camille is lying about whether she has fertility treatment. And so we see that although there is a lot of love there is also just still a lot of chaos. And it makes you wonder, well, maybe there was a reason why this relationship didn't work in the first place. And another thing, when her and Myra did have a conversation together, Myra brought up some points that I was like, whoa, hold on. Let me see if I can get to that. Okay, so Jameson finds out through Facebook stalking that Myra never had her wedding, and so he figured that Ethan and Camille got back together. She admits that it ends up happening, but I wanted to get to where Myra says, "Here it is." Yeah, but basically, Ethan had told Myra that Camille is very selfish and is known to flake, and Myra was just like, I just don't understand like why he would end our relationship for somebody like you, especially when he said all these things to you. And basically, Myra is the one who tells her to own her choices, which makes Camille go back to Dr. Pruitt and say that she quit her job or that she requits her job and that she'll end at the end of the semester. Um, but it just brought up this point that like both of them are like talking to other people instead of talking to each other. Next up is her confession to Ethan. After going to visit her mom and realized that she would go to great lengths to not have these conversations. And the reason why she didn't want to have a conversation with Ethan is because he got hit with a $62,000 lawsuit because he dropped his wedding off, which made me think, is that a real thing? Like, can you get sued if you don't go through with a wedding? But anyway, so because she was feeling very guilty about that and she felt like she kind of like, caused all of this drama with Ethan, she didn't really feel comfortable. She didn't feel comfortable going that route. But seeing her mom and seeing how her mom just refused to talk about her dad and seeing how her mom is stuck in a forever Christmas, it made her realize that, you know what, I don't want to be like my mom and I do need to have these tough conversations. And so she finally confesses to Ethan, hey, I can't have kids. The doctor told me all of this stuff. And Ethan basically says it don't matter. There's different ways to be a parent. We can adopt. We can, do it. You can do in vitro, all of this stuff. Basically, Ethan is saying it's okay if these are not our regular kids. I just want to make sure that I have a family with you, which makes Camille really have to ask herself, do I want to be a mom? And in the end, she realized to be a parent or not to be a parent. And I believe her trip to Puerto Rico and her actually completing this Black Joy project, that she realized that her projects and the things that she put out into the world are her babies and that she doesn't want to be a parent. And so in the end, Camille and Ethan's end up breaking up. But Jameson is in the picture, and Jameson and Dr. Pruitt are both looking at her at the end of this presentation, and they realize that they don't want to let her go. And so it opens the door to say, is Jameson going to fight for Camille? Is there a life for Camille and Jameson in the long run? But we also, in this whole season, on this pregnancy scare, and I do feel like, just to be messy, it's going to end up being Camille pregnant. What do you think? Comment down below. Next up is Ty. All right. So next up is Ty. Ty is actually, I'm gonna be honest, Ty was pissing me off this season. And there's plenty of times in my notes where I was just like, Ty is mean as hell. Ty is wrong. I was saying all type of stuff. But Ty was going through it, and I get it. So we open up this season. Ty is still going through her lawsuits as her divorce. She originally lied to the ladies and said that Brandon had signed it. He signed the divorce papers and he's gone and everything went great. And eventually she had to be honest with the ladies and say that Brandon has not left. He's not signing these divorce papers and he was coming after half of her money. And so in the beginning of the season, Ty and Brandon ends up getting into like this big fight. And Ty basically says, like, what type of life do you have? What type of friends do you have? You don't have anything. And it made Ty question her, the life that she's living and the type of relationships that she wants. And she realized that she do want to she do want to have companionship, and that she do wants to work on her attachment styles. Let me see the exact word. Um, yeah, it's clear that he hits a nerve. Da, 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 Camille. Mm. I forgot what it is, but it's basically like Ty ends up going to a dog shop to see, like, maybe I'm going to get a dog to work on my relationship. She realized that's too much responsibility, and in the end, she ends up going to this plant shop where she's like, okay, maybe I can nurture it and love on these plants, and that will be like a sign of me like loving and nurturing on myself. But it's clear that what Brandon said hit a nerve. And basically, after her and Quinn goes to the sex shop, because Quinn is, she's bi, right? She's a lesbian right now, and which Ty says being a lesbian is very expensive. Uh, Quinn challenged her, like, okay, if I could be a little bit more like you, maybe you could be a little bit more like me when it comes to love. And so this leads us to shebetoxic.com. During a brunch section, Ty basically finds out that she is on this website, shebetoxic.com, where people are talking about trashy Ty and how horrible she is. But as she's reading all her comments, and of course Camille is on there as well. But as she's reading her comments, she's noticing that there's another girl who has a bad reputation as well. And it's this lady named Zoe. And so she says, you know what? Instead of me going around fucking up other women, why don't I get somebody? And she literally said, can you I'm going to fuck Mrs. Wrong until Mrs. Right come along. And so now Ty is out on this mission to meet Zoe so that she can have toxic sex together instead of going around and harming other women in Harlem. And so that leads us to Zoe. Zoe is Ty 2.0, and we just see that those two, not only are they like sexually attracted, they just get to each other. Ty also, as I mentioned before, her and Camille ends up going to the doctor so that Ty can get another opinion, because Ty was treating basically her low blood pressure with getting all of these transfusions, and the doctor was just telling her, like, this is not a viable method. And so Ty was like, I'm not ready to get a hysterectomy. And so Camille took her to the doctor. The doctor told her to take a fertility test to see what type of egg she has, to see if it even would be possible for her to have kids. And now that Ty knows that it is possible for her to have kids, she's decided to go and take fertility treatments to freeze her eggs. And so as she's doing this, she has to, of course, get the shots, but because she does not have any close relationship, she's having a hard time like getting people to, first of all, she can't shoot herself. When she asks Zoe for help on fertility treatment, Zoe is like, okay, I feel like we're starting to learn too much about each other. And in the end, she ends up getting help from Brandon after them two go from being like she's mad at him for taking his money, to I don't want to talk to him, to I didn't want to talk to him. And basically, like, Brandon comes in the end, and Brandon whole storyline is basically he's also hurt. And I think Ty and Brandon's storyline is actually a more common storyline than you know. A lot of people think just because you ghost somebody or because you broke up with somebody that it's just the end. But the truth is, when you had a relationship, especially a long-term relationship, whether that's 2 years, 3 years, whatever, and somebody just leaves your life, it fucks you up mentally. And so we see that just like Ty is unable to connect with people and have lasting relationships, Brandon is also having the issues. He's also finding that every woman that he connects with ends up leaving him in the end. And I think he really needed to have a conversation with Ty. I wish that it would have been longer, Tracy. That's my only note. I wish that he would have been able to just have a more vulnerable conversation with Ty and just be like, you hurt me, and I wasn't able to move on with that. And that's literally what I was screaming at my television. But by the end of the season, they do talk, and Ty realizes she does need help. She does need a friend, and Brandon is the one who helps her with her fertility treatments. I said all that about fertility treatments. All right, for the fertility treatments. And so now we know that Ty knows that she want to have a family. And so in this process of her trying to nurture something else, she's been like getting plants. And basically every time she runs into this plant lady, she is being like overly honest. She's not putting on any fronts. She's not trying to, put her best foot forward. She's not even looking at this lady like a potential love interest. And so when the lady in the end, she ends up calling her while they were in Puerto Rico because she was having some issues about her computer. Ty helps her, and when she goes to the shop to tell her, she didn't kill a plant, the lady ends up asking her, like, would you like to go on a date? Now, I will say, Tracy, y'all did this so well because we should have saw this coming. All throughout this time that we meet the plant lady, aka it's not Creed. I don't know who this. I forgot what this lady name is. But ever since we meet the plant lady, hold on, wait, let me see if I have her name here. I got Brandon name. Mm, I don't know. I kept calling her plant lady in my notes, so I apologize. But anyways, so basically, as we open up this episode, the final episode, Ty described that joy to her is being able to have power. Joy to her is power. And basically, she ends up ending this season with launching a new site called P for Polyamorous. And she ends up going on this date with this plant lady. And at first, she was about to take her on this date and, do the Thai shit. But the lady was like, no, I'm going to take you where I want you to go. And she ends up taking her to like this famous fish spot. And they end up like hitting it off right away. Now, the reason why I'm about to say, Tracy, we should have known, because all throughout this season, ever since she met the plant lady, the number one thing that the lady was talking about was her kid and how important her kid is to her and how much she loved her kid and how her and her husband got into it over her kid, blah, 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 blah. So when we end the season, we end up with Ty, even though she's loving the plant lady, she gets a text from Zoe. And because like we clear, like, I just want to have sex sometimes. Ty's like a man where she could kind of like, she can have sex here, but then have this loving relationship here. She leaves Zoe to go be with the plant lady because the plant lady called her about an emergency. And Ty thought that they were about to have sex, but the plant lady was like, no, let's just come and cuddle and, hug up and have a good time. And so as they are having a good time, Ty realizes that she have to go to the bathroom. And when she goes to the bathroom, who is there but Zoe? And so we end this season with realizing that even though Ty is falling head over heels in love with the plant lady, Zoe is her daughter. And clearly, if those two know each other, that is going to send us to some drama going into season 3. But Ty's storyline was just all about, I think, how our anger can keep us from like really resolving things. And also her avoiding having tough conversations. If she just would have had the tough conversation with Brandon, and when he first popped up and realized like, okay, so I'm sorry, I shouldn't have left like that, I don't think they would have ever got to they would have never got to like this whole this divorce and this lawsuit and the settlement and all of this stuff. But because Ty refused to be vulnerable, Ty refused to just say, hey, I need help, or hey, I needed help at that time, she ended up, having to pay these lawyers, going through this whole process only for Brandon to end up cutting the check in the end. And also, I also believe that Ty's storyline is about how when you're not looking for love, sometimes it can find you. And sometimes it could be the way that you're going about the relationship that can keep love away from you. But Ty's storyline was really straightforward. She started at her divorce, she started at her divorce, trying to be more open while letting go of her toxic ways. She came out less toxic, but ended up in a pretty fucked up situation in the end. Moving on to my boo Angie. Y'all know I love me some Angie. All right, so Angie, we start off Angie's storyline. Angie is just feeling rejected. She's really sad, ever since the cease and desist from Jordan Peele to get out the musical is not going well. She thought she auditioned for this Erica Badu going on tour with Erica. That didn't work out. And so we meet Angie at the beginning of the season just down, and she's starting to question if this is ever going to happen for her, if she's ever going to make it. And in her lowest moment, she ends up going back home for her, I think it was her a family barbecue. And we get to see where Angie get her personality from. We get to see how her mom loves on her, how her brothers, uplift her and love on her. And when she's down and when she wants to give up, her brother speaks life into her. And her brother reminds her, like, do you know how strong it is for you to have to go after rejection, and you don't ever allow that to get to you? Do you know how much strength that takes? And because he speaks into her, and she talked to her mom, and her mom tell her, like, girl, you're basing who you are on what you have, and not knowing that you're already somebody. And so because Angie went and got that love, and also because the street prophet told her that she is going to fuck the most beautiful man in New York, and then her luck is going to change. Angie goes on this quest of fucking the most beautiful man in New York. And so we pretty much end this season with her kind of, being Angie. And, she started off messing with the foot guy, the dude that was a pedicurist. And then she started with his roommate, acting like she was a twin. And then she said she even messed with the cousin. And we do all that until she ends up meeting Mike at Quinn's family dinner. And she really doesn't it wasn't Angie was just being herself, and she was just being open, and she ended up meeting Mike just at the bar, and they have like a really super cute meet cute where they're trying to get a drink. The bartender is ignoring them. Mike tells her to steal some liquor. She ends up stealing the liquor. And when she steals the liquor, they go outside, and he teaches her how to ride a bike. And the reason why she needs to learn how to ride a bike is because she did get a part in a Hallmark movie. And so this part in this Hallmark movie, she's learning how creepy Hallmark can be. It's a white ass place. She also learned that Candace Bond ended up losing her job because she lied about being able to ride a bike. And so Angie spends a good half of the season trying to learn how to ride a bike. Ethan, he fails at doing it, but he also shows that he will be a really good father. And in the end, Mike's end up teaching her how to ride this bike so that she can be a part of the movie. And while she's a part of this movie, we see that even though Angie is able to participate in her craft, we see that some of the things that Black actresses have to deal with, like not having the proper hair, not being able to have other people who look like her, and just overall not being supported by the staff. um, how that not being a part of the staff. But the beautiful thing is that even when Angie is down, you could tell like she don't like to put her downness on other people. And so while she was going through this, it was Mike's birthday, and he was having a birthday party. And Mike was like, all I want is for you to come to my party. But Angie was having such a bad day at work that she didn't want to come. She was trying to figure out what to do to her hair. And Mike ended up showing up with like a little candle and being like, you are my wish. And so we see right away that there's something different between Mike and Angie. But there's something different between Mike and Angie. But what ends up happening is that there is Quinn. And so, as all this season, basically, Angie is talking about Mike when she goes to Puerto Rico. She thinks she's going to turn it into a whole trip, but she's not able to do it because it's not Mike. And she realizes that she really may be feeling things for him, and that this may be something that is more serious than what she's used to. And so at the end of the Puerto Rico episode, she's waiting for this phone call from Mike. And so Mike finally calls. And when he comes up on the picture, Quinn realizes that Mike is the guy that her mom originally tried to set her up with. And so basically, they are cross pollinating. And Quinn gets in her feelings because you have to remember, Quinn, we're going to get to her, but Quinn is not having the best time this season as well. And so Quinn and Angie gets into this big fight where basically Quinn is like, this relationship is not going to be serious and blah, 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 blah. It's just going to be another thing. And then Angie gets mad about her being codependent. Also, I didn't know that Angie also moved out of Quinn Place because the dude, the teaspoon, he got a part in the Lion King play over in Europe, and so Angie was able to lease out his place. So she has her own spot, and we can see that Angie is making these steps and becoming independent. But while she's making these steps and becoming independent, it's forcing Quinn to come out of her codependency, and it's creating tension there. And so first Angie moves out, it hurts Quinn feelings. Then Angie is super into this guy, not really wanting super into this guy because Quinn is going through a breakup. Quinn basically is like, I don't want to spend pride with you. I don't want everything to be all about you. And then when she ends up with Mike, it just pretty much just takes everything over the top. Um, it takes everything over the top. But basically, Angie ends up breaking up with Mike because she realizes that Quinn is the love of her life and Quinn is more important to her. But Quinn has a come to Jesus moment when Mike pulls up on her and she realizes that she was just scared of losing Angie because she's in a serious relationship. And I think again, Tracy, very good storyline because I think as you get older, that does become an issue. You know, you're scared that your friends will pull away and start living their own lives. And so you may self sabotage in different type of ways. So I was so happy that even though Quinn and Angie had this falling out, they did end up coming back together because in the end, Quinn tells Mike that it is okay. And she basically surprises Angie with Mike at the end. And Mike ends up proposing to Angie. So we have to see, is she gonna accept it? And is this Angie the potential person that could be pregnant? I don't think it's Angie being pregnant because I don't even remember her talking about her and Mike having sex. Like I don't remember that. Like I think that's something that's still outstanding, but you're gonna have to let me know. Comment down below. Last but not least, my baby, my number one girl, Quinn, aka me. All right, so we start off this season. Why did I start off with Vogue? Okay, other way around. We can do this way. So we start off this season with Isabella. Queen and Isabella are together. Queen is being Queen. She is all into this story. She's going to the sex store to get, the sex toys for her and all of this stuff. And she realizes that none of that is necessary with Isabella. Isabella is like, all I need to do is just be with you and let me take the lead. But Isabella is also a woman who is very much so knows what she got going on. She's very grounded. She is like somebody, she's a very structured woman. And so Quinn is like super into her, popping up all the time. And when they go on a date, she basically tells Quinn, hey, that's all of my social time. I have to really prepare for, this next meeting because she's running for office. And Quinn takes it personal. And basically, we learn that Quinn goes from 0 to 100 real quick in relationships. And basically, Isabella is like, I am running for office and I don't have time for run for office and to be in a relationship. And so she tells Quinn that they need to slow it down. Quinn takes it as a breakup, but Isabella never even thought they were together. And honestly, Tracy, I have a question too. How long were they together for all of them to be calling this a breakup? Especially when Isabella never even looked at it like a relationship. Nonetheless, as all of this is going on, Queen is also very excited because she has her Vogue interview. Because Myra has a friend that is super connected, Queen is going to do a 73 questions with me with Vogue. And so Queen is very excited about Isabella, about Vogue. But when Isabella breaks up with her, she's not excited about Vogue anymore. And she finds that every time the Vogue interview asks her about happiness or the things that make her happy, she's just not able to answer those questions. And so basically, she ends up ending her Vogue interview because she starts freaking out because she's not happy. And this sends her into a depression. And so for a good episode, we got to watch this montage of Quinn, in the bathtub, Quinn on the store, Quinn on the stoop. And then finally, Quinn's admit to her friends that, hey, I didn't get the Vogue. Things are not going well. And they end up helping her. And I think they tell her that she should go to the doctor because we learned that on top of them going to Puerto Rico and doing this big girls trip to try to revitalize her life, the doctor also suggested that Quinn gets on medicine, but Quinn doesn't want to get on medicine. She says that this trip to Puerto Rico is going to be enough. And so the girls, they head off to Puerto Rico. Quinn is like, this island is so healing. This is going to be my eat, love, pray trip. And then she ends up running into Keith. And so Keith is Quinn's ex from college, and apparently, they had like this beautiful romance, and she broke up with him because she felt like, you don't marry your college sweetheart. Which, girl, I thought that was the saying. You marry your college sweetheart. What other saying are you living? Queen is living in some weird world. But anyways, so she basically, her and Keith have this conversation where they both realize like life has not been the same since they broke up. And so Quinn and Keith, they start hitting it off. Quinn basically leaves the girl on a vacation so that she can get back with Keith. And, when they get back to New York, she tells him that after they go to this big presentation, she wants to do you know, um, this amazing boat ride that she has always planned on having. She talked about when she was a kid, her parents took her to this restaurant where she got to dress up, and she looked outside and she saw this super fancy woman on this boat, this couple on this boat. And she was like, she wanted to be that woman when she grew up. And so while she's coming back and she's getting ready for this, Mike end up pulling up on her at the store and pretty much trying to figure out like why Angie broke up with him. She had no idea that Angie had broke up with him. And through the process of talking to Mike reveals that, I before Angie, I had to, take a break on dating because every guy that I was with, he's like, every woman that I was with, they end up running off on me, and it just wasn't working. And so I took time off to love on myself, to heal on myself, because at Queen finished, how can you love on somebody if you do not love yourself? And so through talking to Mike and, basically giving him her blessing to be with Angie, Queen's realized what was going wrong. Like, one thing that Quinn said in, I want to say it was the Puerto Rico trip. She just said, I feel best when I'm in a relationship. Ladies, whenever you find yourself saying that, red flag, like just put a red flag on yourself, because it's a big sign of codependency. And that's what we got to see throughout this season. We got to see Quinn being codependent. We got to see and we got to see Camille and Ty being avoidant. And we also got to see what depression looked like in different stages. We got to see how Quinn went through depression, how Camille moms deal with depression, and how I also love I forgot about the Camille storyline. It could show how trauma, or how a major event happening in your life, how it can keep you trapped in this cycle. And that's kind of what we are able to see with Camille mom. But through Quinn talking to Mike and realizing that he was in this cycle, and that in order for her to truly break this cycle, she's going to have to take that time to love on herself and not just jump back in a relationship. And so at the end of this season, when she's supposed to meet Keith to go on this beautiful boat ride, she actually meets up with him and tell him that she needs to take the time to love on herself. And so she gets on this boat all by herself, like the fly woman that she is. And the beauty of it is a young Black girl is watching her, because that is really the key here. As I talked about it before, I talked about how community is such a big part of this season. But I also want us to realize that being leaders and setting examples, like, it's not just for your family, it's not just for your brother and sisters, but it's also for those little girls and those little boys out there. I used to have a college big sister who used to say all the time, there is no such thing as a low-key person, and Queen's story proves that. Another thing I want to just touch on with Queen's story is going back to this depression point. It actually took for Angie to reach out to her mom, again, the importance of community. Angie reached out to her mom and let her know that, hey, we're going on this vacation with Quinn, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. And Quinn mom reveals that, hey, your dad also deals with depression and he has to take medicine. And because her mom revealed that truth and told her that this is something that runs in the family, it gave Quinn that acceptance of taking her depression pills to get herself back together, and to also to be able to have these tough realizations that she do need to take time to be with herself. And I just really love that, because I think as Black people, that is something that we all could deal with. I know for myself, when I had a little mental health issue, I really was like rejecting the medicine. Like I thought, I'm like, I don't need it to make me, try to make me sedate me or stop me from being me. But the medicine is really there for us, to help us and to help us be us, and to stop, those irregularities, and that it doesn't make us crazy. It's just how our mind is wired, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And so that is Quinn's storyline. Quinn went from being this hopeless romantic to, being super codependent, to love bombing people, to only feeling like she could only be her best self when she's in a relationship, to having a relationship and rejecting that relationship and deciding to take the time to love on herself. I just chef kisses on this storyline. All right. Final takeaways. And this is the other reason why I was like, let me hurry up and do this, because I want to start working on season 3. Our final takeaways. I really feel like this whole season 2 could be called The Case of the Ex. We got to see Camille and Ethan. We got to see Quinn and Keith. And it's just, and also, I mean, I should have put that on there, Ty and Brandon. And it just talks about how, these past relationships, our history with people, how they can affect our lives. Like, Camille and Ethan, like, even though, they broke up, and Camille probably always felt guilty about the way that they broke up, as they got back together, they realized that they broke up for a reason. And it's like, I think a lot of us have to trust that if something didn't work out the first time around, there may be a really good reason why it didn't work out. And sometimes it's not best to spin the block. I honestly feel like this whole season was a case study on why not to spin a block, because if you haven't dealt with the core issues of your relationships, they're not going to magically disappear just because y'all haven't been around each other for a long time. They're always going to come back. You're always going to have to address these problems. And we saw that in both the Camille and Ethan relationship, Quinn and Keith, as well as Brandon and Ty. Last thing, tough conversations. This whole season was about having tough conversations, whether you're having tough conversation with your mom, you're having tough conversations with your employer, having tough conversation with your friends. We have to realize a big part about being an adult is being able to vocalize and speak up for what you want, what you don't want, what you will stand for. And you have to know that nobody's going to know what you're going through, what you need, if you won't have a conversation about it. And so I really hope that as we're watching this season, if you do see yourself reflected in Camille mom, or even in Quinn, I just ask that you sit down and have those tough conversations with yourself, especially ladies and men. If you find yourself in, because we did see with Mike also said he went through this cycle. If you do find yourself just in a cycle of, unrequited love, or just relationships that they never really quite work out, take that time to take a break to get to love on yourself. I had to do it myself. I was a serial dater for a very, very long time. And then I broke up with my ex of 7 years. And I really have taken the last 5 years to just, first of all, I was depressed because we broke up, because I thought that was going to be my husband and all those good things. But through that time, I've taken the time to really learn and love on myself and realize why it didn't work in the first place. And a lot of it was codependency. A lot of it was because I didn't love on myself. But now I'm on that other side, to where I've taken a break, and now I'm open to love again. And I'm so excited to see what type of love is going to find me this time around. And I'm also excited to see what type of love is going to find Camille. Season 3. All right, so we know that we had a big cliffhanger. Hold on, y'all. I'm sorry. I'm such a I hate when stuff like that happen. What is this? Oh my god, I'm so sorry, y'all. This is so inappropriate. I just want to take, there we go. Okay. Here we go. All right. So, tough conversation. Season 3. So we ended season 3 on this big cliffhanger. Who is pregnant? Is it Camille? Is it Ty? Is it Angie? I didn't even think it was Angie or Quinn. So I really believe it is Camille, but I guess we'll have to wait and see who is pregnant. But some things that I'm really looking forward to in season 3 is seeing if Angie is going to accept Mike's proposal. And what does that mean for Angie having a serious relationship? Is she used to having single relationships? What is Ty going to do about the plant lady and Zoe? Did she even have relationship for Zoe like that? Or was it just the convenience of everything? Is she still going to try to pursue things with the plant lady, even though Zoe is her daughter? Will the plant lady like that, or is the relationship just dead? Last but not least, are we going to be Camille? Is Camille going to end up? Is Camille going to be pregnant? Is she going to end up back with Ethan? Is Jameson going to shoot his shot? Is Dr. Pruitt going to shoot her shot to keep her there? And then last but not least, I want to know what's going to happen with Quinn. Does Quinn find her happily ever after? Do she find the man that is truly meant for her? I'm just going to say for the last time, I really feel like it's an injustice that we're losing we losing these characters so fast. But again, I would love to talk to Tracy to just see, like, is this something that she wanted or she predicted that she could see in the future for this series. But I was really kind of heartbroken when I learned that, as I talk about our next episode, I was really heartbroken to learn that season 3 is only going to be 6 episodes, and they're going to be giving us 2 episodes at a time. And so at first I was going to try to take it episode by episode, but I'm just thinking if it's only going to be 6 episodes, then it may be just best for me to just do one video for a season 3 breakdown. But I really want to know, what do you guys think I should do for season 3? Would you guys like to have some weekly updates for Harlem, or would you just rather I wait to the end? Please, please, please drop that down in the comment section below. And that will actually determine when our next episode will be. So we will either have another episode. We either will have another episode on the 31st for our TGIF, or we'll have another episode. Let's see. So it premiered here. 1, 2. It's only gonna be 3 weeks. So 1, 2, 3. Okay, so either our next episode is gonna be January 31st, or it'll be January. Oh, do I want to do the 14th? Potentially January 14th. I am gonna be out of town, so I may not say January 14th. I may do it, may do it the 21st. But anyways, we're either gonna do it the 21st or the 31st, one of the two. I may do it while I'm out of town. I don't know. You guys let me know if you really want me to kind of do a season finale for this. I mean, it looks like the season finale for this will be available by February 6th. So maybe February 7th, I could do it. Let's do it that way. February 7th. So either I will do your next video February 7th or January 31st. All right. That's where it's going to be. Comment down below what you would want. January 31st, I would do, episode by episode breakdown, or would you just rather I do the whole season at the end? All right. This is the end. I want to thank you guys so much for taking this time out to listen to this video, listen to my story breakdown. I hope as either writers or, viewers that you learned something from this. If you have any questions, please, please, please comment down below. I love to conversate. And if you just want us to do a live where we just chit chat and talk about all 3 seasons, I'm totally down for that. One thing that I want to leave you guys with, that was really explored at the end of this season, is what is your definition of Black joy? How do you define Black joy? I also want to know, how do you define legacy? And for you women out there, and men, because I do feel like if you're 30 plus, it's time to start having those tough conversations. Do you want to be a parent? What do you define as your legacy? If you want to answer any of those questions, please comment down below and I will write mine as well. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for taking your time to listen to this. Thank you for helping my dreams come true. Now get out there and work on your own. Until we meet again, dream those dreams. Never let the internet rush you, and never ever let someone tell you what you cannot do. Bye-bye. Oh, I guess I could have, hold on, before I completely turn this off. and stop sharing my screen. I did see somebody that was on my live with me. Oh, I did it within an hour. I'm so proud of myself. So this is my last going once. Hold on before I like. Oh wait, okay, so they're not there anymore. Okay, they're not there anymore. All right, y'all. Again, if you have any questions, any comments, or any concerns, please comment down below. Until then, I'll see you next week. Bye bye, or in the next video.